The night I first danced for Tess Whitaker, my stomach was empty, my socks didn't match, and my left shoe flapped like a mouth that wouldn't stop talking. I was 16 under a bridge in Port Providence, moving, because hunger felt like a fist, and dancing was the only way to swing back. And when I glanced toward the rehab wing window, I saw a girl in a wheelchair, with a yellow ribbon in her hair, watching me like the world had finally remembered her name. She laughed. Not loud, just bright. And from the shadows, a man's voice said quietly, "Thank you." Next day, he invited me to their garden, and yeah, I showed up, because when your life is a backpack, and alleged tomorrow is a rumor, but you still chase it. The garden looked like it hired its own staff just to be green. Tess waited beneath a white umbrella, and her dad, Grant Whitaker, sleeves rolled, voice steady, handed me hot chocolate like he'd trained for it. No contract, no rules, just dance and see if it brings her joy. By the third song, she was lifting herself a few inches on those armrests, meeting the rhythm halfway. And when I stopped, she was breathless and alive, in a way you don't fake, so I came back the next day, and the day after, until the guest room above the garage turned into mine, even though I slept with my shoes on for a week, because street rules don't disappear overnight. Tess made me a lime green bookshelf out of a shipping crate and labeled one shelf. "Wynn's first card," said maid. Tess laughed 3 times before lunch. Her physical therapist taught me counts, so I knew when to push and when to pull back. Music became our language, and 2 months later she stood with braces and took one step, and I swear I ugly cried in a way that did not feel cool at all. Harbor Ridge Academy handed me a blazer that itched, and a cafeteria full of assigned seats in life. First day, this kid with perfect hair said so. Backyard ballerina, how much to spin on the table? His friends laughed like they owned the oxygen, and I said, "I spin for free, but I charge for lessons, you know what I mean?" He didn't nod right away, but I learned fast that a 5 a.m. run in January turns the rest of the day into a snack I practiced in the garage, until my legs shook, then cracked open history and made flashcards until the light clicked off by itself, because if there's a door, even a stubborn little one, you knock until your knuckles bleed. 4 months in, we stood in a courtroom that smelled like varnish and coffee cameras, outside a judge who looked through excuses like fog. Grant spoke like a dad who'd been awake for a long time. "Your Honor." This kid gave my daughter back her laugh. The judge turned to me and said, "This is your choice, son. You want this name," and Tess squeezed my hand and whispered, "Well, say it with your chest, Reyes," so I did. "Yes, sir," the gavel dropped, and it felt like a trap door opened under the old me and let him go. A reporter asked if I felt like a charity case. I said, "No, ma'am, I feel like family." School became a grind, and I loved it more than my old self would admit. Tess found her voice in the student paper and roasted dress code, hypocrisy so hard the board tried to ban adjectives for a week. We ate cereal on the kitchen island, trading lines at midnight. Her maybe lay off the metaphors, me maybe lay off the editor brain. She'd steal my spoon and grin, but comfort whispered too, "Hey kid, you made it now," coast someone at school said. "Why kill yourself for grades when you already live on the hill?" And that night I found Tess in the garden with the moon making a silver stripe on the slate. She said, "I know that look, the I could be lesser and nobody would catch me look." I rolled my eyes and set an alarm anyway, deciding to be the person future me could brag about in quiet rooms. Senior year, Northbridge University said yes to business and data analytics. Tess burst into my room, waving her phone, and yelled, "Validation station." "Reyes, you're in," and Grant, I could finally call him Dad when the house got quiet, stood there with that little smile you make when tears are staging a mutiny. He said, "The work is the gift, kid," then added, "Help me carry this next thing." His desk was a storm of contracts with red circles and vendor lists and email printouts an inch thick. He said, "We have a leak every time we go in on a bid. A rival undercuts us by exactly enough. I can't fix what I can't see. I want you in the room." Now here's your twist, the one that split my story in two. I was 19 with a backpack schedule walking into a conference room, where even the coffee had a pedigree. The senior managers smiled like they were being filmed. I sat quiet and watched, because growing up outside teaches you who owns a room by how other people breathe when they're near. Elliot Crane had silver hair, a navy suit, and a microphone voice, longtime family friend, everyone said. But vendors stiffened when he turned their way, not fear exactly, more like bracing for a bite. So I tracked documents like dance counts. When a folder touched his hands, a competitor appeared with our math. But cheaper by a hair, I built a spreadsheet, timestamps and routes, asked an IT intern named Winter, sharp eyes, quicker mouse. To help map headers, we set a honeypot. A fake contract with a microscopic typo slipped into Elliot's favorite path. 3 days later, our rival bid arrived carrying our typo like a fingerprint. Yeah, that happened. In the boardroom, I slid the packet to Dad. Elliot leaned back like we were wasting his time, I said. "Crane, this looks familiar, doesn't it?" He gave a little laugh. "Kid, you wouldn't know familiar if it kissed your forehead." And I didn't blink. "That's true, I grew up on concrete, but I know a thief, by the way." "He watches doors, his smile died by degrees," Dad said. "Elliot, don't make me ask twice." Elliot stared at me, then at the ceiling like it might feed him a better lie, and finally said, "Fine, it's me, you cut me out of Riverport." I reminded him, we cut him out because he bullied a vendor so hard. She cried in a hallway, legal came in, papers moved silence, got loud enough to hear itself. And when it was done, I didn't feel triumphant, just tired and hungry for a sandwich and a nap. Lana Pierce, a TV host with blade-sharp questions, asked me next if the PR optics were a little too shiny. The saved street kid saves the company. Convenient. Right, I said. You're not wrong to be suspicious, I would be too, but I didn't need saving. When I met them, I needed to be seen, and once you're seen, you start seeing back. We hire kids from shelters, we pay on time, we mess up and fix it. That's not a fairy tale. "That's Tuesdays off camera," she said. "You're annoyingly reasonable," I said. "Thank you for your service." I graduated at 22 with a diploma that felt heavier than paper should. Dad clapped like his hands were trying to start a fire. Tess walked the stage under her own power and took her journalism degree like it owed her back rent at home. I found the lime green shelf and added a card that said, "Kept the promise," because the promise was simple. If I ever got a name, a roof, a chance, I'd spend them like water on kids who needed what I needed. So we built the Bridge Light Foundation mirrors on the walls and sprung floors for movement, a library where the paperbacks have lived a lot of lives, a kitchen that smells like something good is about to happen. I wore my scuffed sneakers on opening day and told the truth. I used to sleep where the city doesn't look. I danced to tell fear to sit down. If you're here, it's because someone sees you. You don't owe us a performance. You owe yourself a chance. The first scholarship night had 20 kids gripping envelopes like they might dissolve. A boy named Jax handed me a note. I didn't know tomorrow could be a thing until you said it. I kept that note until the edges went soft. Then the call from Mercy General landed like a stone. "Your father wants to see you." Not Grant. The other one, Leon, the man who could juggle and drink and vanish. Last thing he ever said to me was, "Go on, then be someone else's problem." I almost hung up. Tess put her hand over mine and said, "You don't have to do magic tricks with forgiveness. You can walk in, tell the truth, walk out." So I did, and the room smelled like antiseptic and resignation. He looked smaller than my memory could hold, he said. "You're taller," I said. I had to reach something. He cried in the same old messy way and said, "I'm sorry," and I didn't have a speech. I just said what was true. You hurt me. You made me useful too, in ways you never intended. I don't owe you a performance. I will not carry this hate. He nodded like that was more than he deserved. And when I walked out, I felt lighter, and also sad in a way that didn't need an audience because forgiveness doesn't always feel like fireworks. Sometimes it's a quiet hallway, and a breath you didn't know you were holding. Last thing, and this is where people split in the comments. A re-entry nonprofit asked if Elliot Crane could speak at our ethics forum after he served his time. I said yes. Half the city thought I'd lost my mind. The other half thought it was a stunt. Tess asked if I really wanted that heat. And I told her, if we say we believe in second chances, but only for pretty stories, we're lying. Elliot didn't charm anyone on stage. He looked older, honest, a little ruined. He said, I thought I was indispensable, and when I learned I wasn't, I turned into a thief. You could feel that line land like hard rain, some folks told me afterward. I handed the mic to the enemy. Maybe I did, or maybe I handed it to a caution sign, Dad said in the car. You're building something I don't fully understand. And that's the point, right? To make a legacy bigger than the person who started it. I laughed and said, want a sandwich and a nap? Because some jokes never retire. I still dance in the kitchen when the tile is cold and the lights are low. Tess claps off beat to annoy me. Dad pretends to hate it, and then smiles with his whole face. That laugh we rescued in a garden is still our house anthem. And the questions we're still wrestling with are yours now. Was I right to forgive the man who left me? Was I wrong to give a microphone to the man who sold out my family? Is adoption ever free of power, even when it's built on love? You know what I mean? Tell me where you land and why. Tell me what you've seen. Where mercy and justice blur, where money did right by people or didn't. Drop your story in the comments and push back if you need to. I'll be there listening, arguing with respect, because the story keeps going as long as we're brave enough to ask the hard questions and kind enough to answer.